NBA players are getting paid. What does that mean for your San Antonio Spurs?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Nathan Ray Clark from Criminal Minds and Modern Family. And you lucky SOB, you're listening to the best Spurs podcast out there. Locked On Spurs with your boy, Jeff Garcia. God, he's sexy.
Welcome back right here on Locked On Spurs. I am your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. I'm glad to have you back. Hey, you made the right choice for always coming here to Locked On Spurs for all things silver and black. What are we talking about today? Well, we're going to be getting into the recent NBA news that Jalen Brown got one of the richest contract in NBA history. What does that mean for the Spurs moving forward in their rebuild? And then we'll get into some recent Spurs signings. 3 players are officially back, but something's got to give because their roster is a little bit over right now. So 3 players need to go. And as always, we thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are part of the Locked On NBA Network, your team each and every day, available on YouTube. And speaking of the rebuild, sure, we're talking about the rebuild and the players and the additions and the subtractions and the draft picks and the money and all that stuff. That's good. That's part of it. I get it. But the recent Jalen Brown signing kind of is signaling another aspect of the rebuild is NBA players want to get big money. And Jalen Brown, no knock on him. He's not, franchise altering, but he got paid. What does that mean for your Spurs in this rebuild? What does it mean for a guy like Wemby? What does it mean for a guy like Devin or Keldon or a future pick that they get that just takes the NBA world by storm? Let alone just a good player like Jalen Brown, but on the Spurs. And when it's time for them to re-up and they're max eligible, will the Spurs do it? This is a team that historically has never paid that kind of money. Maybe Kawhi could have been the first, but, we know how that happened. Duncan, he always took a pay cut for the betterment of the team. Same thing with Robinson. This is going to be a different aspect of the rebuild that the Spurs are going to be venturing in. Look, eventually, all these guys, if they're still around, barring any trade or injury, they're going to want to get paid. Keldon got paid, but his deal declines in pay every year. It was front-loaded. It gets front-loaded, but the backload is a little lighter. Devin is up for one. What's going to happen to Wemby after 4 years and he's done with this rookie contract? Yeah, this is something to think about as the Spurs continue their rebuild. But we're going to go ahead and bring in our guest to help us discuss this and much more, including the players that he thinks might be on their way out. He is James Pledger of San Antonio Sports Star. Let's bring him on in. There he is. There's the man. By the way, Pledger, I wore this in honor of you. I don't know if you can see it.
Love it.
Look at that.
Goku looking like he's tapping into some Ultra Instinct there.
Ultra Instinct. I got this actually in San Antonio at the Anime Con. And but Pledger is part of the San Antonio Sports Star and all of them. They're cooking every single day. He is also the co-host of the Saturday Morning Hangover, as well as his own show, Extra Innings with Pledger. Follow him on Twitter at @IamPledger. One thing, Pledger, you and I would never have to deal with is one day opening up our bank account and seeing like billions and millions of numbers of dollars in our bank account. But NBA players are getting paid, and Jalen Brown got one of the richest contracts in NBA history, let alone, James, he's not even a franchise. He's just a very good player, an all-star. And that has set the precedent moving forward once the new CBA, if they do bargaining, if they move it up or down, the franchise money and the cap and all that financial stuff. But
you got to figure they're not sheiks. I mean, this is spread out at least over 5 years, and Mbappe was getting offered, twice that for 1 year.
Jeez, I know, but it's and I know this is like one of those things in the future, but part of the Spurs rebuild is looking at the future and these kids on the roster. When it's their time, if they're max eligible or just near max eligible, they're going to want to get paid. But you look at a guy like Devin Vassell, just for an example, obviously, still kind of the jury's still a little outish a bit. We'll see what he does next season, but he's going to due up for a contract extension. Keldon, he's in the middle of his, what if when his runs out, he sees what Jalen Brown did? And of course, Wemby. I mean, can you imagine what he may command if he is the generational player that he is? This is something new. Well, this is something new for the Spurs, James, because they never had to deal with this. So what are your thoughts on this?
It's not new. I mean, they had this with Tim Toniamanu.
But they took pay cuts. They took pay cuts,
but at the same time, there are only so many people that can be eligible for those types of Jalen Brown contracts because you have to meet certain barriers. Like, you're not going to have 4 Spurs on the All-NBA first team.
No.
Like, that's just not going to happen. So there are markers to have to get to that. And if you hit all those markers and the Spurs have 6 of them coming up, one after the other, that is RPP. That is what we call rich people problems, man.
Yeah.
That is a
problem you have to deal with every day, right, James? That's a problem you have every day.
That would be a good thing for the Spurs if that were to happen, because that means they all hit.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, you work your plan, and part of the plan is the draft is a crapshoot. Period. So every draft pick is a crapshoot. So they've loaded up with dice and rolls to basically give themselves the most opportunities to hit. That's what they've done, or they can trade them for a handful of them for one player in particular. But that's what they've done by acquiring these. Now, it's okay right now because Devin's upcoming extension is just the rookie extension. He's met no escalators for the rookie deal like Zion or Ja did. So his will be more closer to that of what Keldon's deal is, which was, what, $480, I believe?
$480, right, yeah.
So if we start getting all NBA play out of these people,
we were to be winning titles at that point.
Well, yeah, I mean, so it is a good problem to have or to think about having, but let's not put the cart before the horse. Right. A lot of these kids are very young, and while we've seen flashes of them being good NBA players, possibly maybe an all-star in their future.
Yeah.
Like, we're not there.
I can see obviously the obvious of Wemby, getting that if he is.
That's the one. That's your one with the bullet right now.
Here's my other dark horse bullet is Sohan.
Yeah,
Sohan. He's
I could see him getting like first team All NBA defense, which would Draymond him in a sense. Yeah.
So between those two guys, definitely can see them getting that Jalen. I can't believe I'm saying this. That Jalen Brown money. Jalen Brown money. But for a guy like Wemby, obviously you see what Brown got, and you're like, well, heck, he wasn't even a number 1 pick. Here I am coming in on the scene, and if I live up to the billing and hit those markers, we're good to go. Do you think the Spurs also have to deal with perhaps the different type of NBA player? Back when TD and David were playing, it really wasn't about, the brand and the social media and all your contacts. Now it is. And God, I mean, I'm again, no aspersions towards Wemby or Sohan, whoever, but I can see them saying like, nah, I'm not going to give you a hometown discount. Pay up. I think that's a possibility.
It absolutely is. But we also know that the Spurs were willing to go over the luxury tax when they were competing for titles.
Right.
So that's not an issue if you're winning. Like, they will pay. And here's the other thing. Let's say Sohan does make like a All-NBA defensive second team or something. He gets one of those escalators. Sign and trade.
Yeah.
If you don't believe he's a vital linchpin piece at that price point, sign and trade. Somebody will. And then you recoup the value of said player. And that's the best way to go about it moving forward. But even then, even saying Sohan could be a first or second team, possibly all NBA defensive team player, while you can see the kind of like, yeah, maybe. He's got to take some massive strides forward to get to there, because they were bad defensively and he was okay defensively.
Right. Yeah. He definitely is one of the players on the current roster. He has the tools to make that, as does Wemby. But can you imagine the Spurs having to open up their wallet for just Wemby? I mean, ticket price is going to get a lot more expensive. We're complaining about it now. Wait till that hits, and they got to offset the cost. But
I mean, it's hitting everywhere though, because gas is like $3.50 right now down here.
Hold on that thought. When we get back, we're going to continue our chat about this, as well as get into some Spurs recent player signings and who's on the bubble and who's not, right here on Locked On Spurs with James Pledger of San Antonio Sports Star.
Hello there.
Hey, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. Take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times, you heard that right, 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. It's a lot of money. That's right. Just bet $20 and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Check it out. That's $200 you can spend betting from everything from the money line to the over and under to who you think is going to be the first home run. All on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. I mean, what more can you want? Well, there's no better place to bet on MLB than on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. I go there. I love that, looking at their NBA futures, their projections on the Spurs and Wemby. It's all there. You got to go to FanDuel right now. Sign up today. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOnNBA and get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOnNBA. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball.
Hello there.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with James Pledger with San Antonio Sports Star and Extra Innings with Pledger. I mean, we're going extra innings with Pledger. Do we at least get a stretch? Do we get a stretch a bit? You know, like that 7th inning stretch?
I mean, yeah, you gotta hit the 7th inning stretch, or you're never gonna make it through the extra innings.
And you get through that by listening to San Antonio Sports Star all day. It starts early in the morning with Rob and Rudy, R&R, and it continues all the way up to Pledge. And Pledge is going to brag about that later on in the show. So we're talking about NBA players getting paid, and to the bar now being said that Jalen Brown. Now, granted, again, we're not trying to discount. He's a good player. He's a good player, an all-star, very key for Boston. But the bar has been set now because of the amount that he's received. So you're obviously the biggest candidate for the Spurs is Wemby for that possibility. The Spurs, I mean, you would hope they will pay him, and I'm pretty sure they will pay him if he does pan out. But
trust me, if he hits the incentives that gets him to that contract, they're paying. They're already seeing the benefits of what Wemby has brought to the city. Ticket sales, just the
jerseys,
amount of people that are talking and want the Spurs on their tongue and everything that's involved with it. The Spurs could, by the end of this, become a nationally recognizable brand.
Right.
Unlike anything they have been before.
Exactly. So I think the money will probably be not a problem for them. The kicker is if a guy like a Sohan or a Devin Vassell, if they hit markers, and then you know, this is what's always been said about the Spurs: small market. And yes, you're right. They did go over the luxury tax a few times in their history during the title runs, but we've never seen them do Golden State level, over the cap. Los Angeles Lakers, New York Knicks kind of level. Do you think a small market like San Antonio would push that kind of limit like we've seen the Warriors and the Lakers do?
I do, because if you're winning at that clip, you're making a lot of money. And if Wemby is who we think he is, you're making a ton of money. And it's not just nationally, it's internationally.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, the fact that I look at the construction of the roster, they're easily going to be able to cycle through other players, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because of the load of draft picks they have.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it won't happen by the end of his rookie contract, but by the end of his second year, either Devin or Keldon hits
Mm-hmm.
a marker for a supermax, right? And then Sohan hits one,
Mm-hmm.
so he gets a rookie super. And remember, the supermax is different. There's the supermax, which
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Brown got because he's been in the league long enough to get it. We're still 2 contracts away from that, from either Sohan,
Right.
Devin, or Wemby.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to get through your rookie deal onto that next deal, and then you're eligible for a supermax. You can do a rookie supermax, which is what the Zions and the Jaws have signed. They're big, but not the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
So there is buffer there for the Spurs. So we're talking 5-10 years down the road by the time we're talking about, and especially with Wemby, we're talking 8, probably about 8 years down the road before we can even consider it.
Yeah.
So one step at a time. I love jumping ahead a little bit, but we've got to see how this unit even plays together, because they've got much bigger questions than if they can afford to keep everyone if everyone pans out.
Yeah.
Mainly, who's going to be on this roster?
Right. Exactly. And you're looking at the roster itself. We're going to do that in just a few minutes. It's crammed right now. There's also still, flippable players that if it isn't working out, let's just say after the All-Star break, and they're like, this isn't working out, they're stumbling. I mean, we've seen it before, obviously different times, but Derek White and DeJounte, that pairing. Well, remember back in the day, Pledger, they can't play together. They can't play together. One has to, there was that debate, and sure enough, it looked seemingly on paper looked like it worked out, because we saw what Derek White does in Boston. So that could be an issue. And there's also this too, and I'm not jumping ahead too far, but the Spurs do have a boatload of first round picks. And what are those first round picks hit? And they get themselves like a job, like at number 3 or something, or some player at number 4, and they're the next, to be taking over the league. So yeah, these are things you got to worry about. And with Jalen Brown getting that Jalen Brown money, I'm pretty sure the Spurs are on. I think the whole league is on notice now. Like, wow, Jalen Brown got that kind of money. Woo.
Well, the problem is, yes, he got that money, but realize with the increase in the value of the Supermax, that also means there's an increase in the salary cap. Like, it's not like the cap staying flat and the player amounts are going up. They're both going up. And so they're going to, they're still going to have an amount of money. Like, the Supermax is never going to cripple a team to the point that you can't do literally anything or retain any players, because it would be impossible to form a team around one person, because that's all you can afford. No, the cap rises with the Supermax. So that means since the Supermax is going up, the cap is going up, and a rising tide lifts all ships.
Absolutely. He is James Pledger with San Antonio Sports Star. And when we get back, we're going to talk about the recent Spurs signings. Who's got to go? The Spurs are crammed right now. We'll find out who's on the bubble and who's not right here on Locked On Spurs. But before I let James take a break, I got to ask him, have you been to Mudslingers yet?
Oh, you know it.
There you go. What did you get? The Alien? The OGO?
No. I got the OJ. Like, I love that Orange Julius so much. I haven't tried the Alien. I keep telling myself next time I go in, I'm getting the Alien. I'm going to do it. I know there's Red Bull in it. And then I go in there and I'm like, I really want an Orange Julius.
All right, well, let's give James a break real fast. And let me talk to you about Mudslinger's drive-thru coffee. Located in the Stone Oak area, and they serve delicious pick-me-ups for busy people on the move right here in San Antonio. And they're also a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs. So if you're in the mood for a latte, cold brew, lightning bolt series, yeah, that the name alone should tell you right there is going to pick you up and get you going through the day. Go to Mudslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. Over 300 5-star reviews cannot be wrong, and they have a wide selection of dairy alternatives, even caffeine-free drinks of those who just want to take it easy. And they got the signature Mudslinger drink. It's a dark chocolate, it's caramel, it's espresso, steamed milk, very, very good. And as you just heard right now with James, if you need to get your heart pumping, try the Alien, made on behalf of Victor Wembanyama. It's a full can of Red Bull. James, can you handle that? I know you can hear me. Can you handle a full can of Red Bull?
Oh, yeah. Light
there you
work,
go,
baby.
There it is. And it's with red apple and kiwi. So if you're not big on caffeine, just do what James did. Do what I do. Do what a lot of San Antonio do. Get the OG OJ. Basically, it's the old Orange Julius drink recreated only at Mudslinger's Drive-Thru Coffee. Located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive between, near 281 and 1604. They're open every day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Find them on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook. Pick a platform. They are there at Mudslinger STX. Life is too short for bland coffee. Let's go and bring him back. He is James Pledger with San Antonio Sports Star. Probably chugged himself some OG OJ he had underneath the counter. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at I am Pledger. He's going to brag about his new show and more, Extra Innings with Pledger. So the Spurs recently announced 3 players are back. They've been signed, sealed, and delivered. Mamu is back. Sidi Sissoko, Spurs.
Okay, hold on. I want to try this.
All right, go for it.
Sandro Mamukishvili.
Isn't that what you're known for at the start? Like, I've heard that, like, Minnick say, like, oh, you can handle all the big words, the big names. Yeah.
I'm the weird pronunciation guy when it comes to.
All right, do it one more time. See if you can do it one more time. Mamu.
Sandro Mamukishvili.
There you go. Good job. Sidi Sissoko, the other pick. There was another pick in the draft, Spurs fans.
Another French one.
Yeah, exactly. And Dominic Barlow. But, yay, they're back. But the problem is the Spurs now have a crammed roster. They're at 20, I believe, James. Something's got to give. Who are your players on the bubble? Oh, you love this, don't you?
No, this is just difficult.
How many they got to cut? They got to cut 3 or 5?
I believe it's 3.
3, right, yeah.
I believe they got to get to 17 to enter camp, and then their 2 ways can go to Austin. Yeah. So that gets them, and I believe they have 3 on 2-way deals, if I remember correctly.
It's Barlow, Jabari Rice. Who am I missing? Not Champagne, right? No,
Champagne got a real big boy deal.
A real deal. Got a big boy deal. Barlow.
Yeah, no.
Did I say Barlow? I said Barlow? Okay. But the point is that something's got to give. So,
Well, CD's probably going to be down in Austin.
All right, so there's 1. So
I imagine Serge Jabari he's either cut or goes to Austin.
So there's your 2.
And
it's got to be Barlow, right?
Barlow's in Austin.
Yeah, Barlow's in
Austin. Because he's on a 2-way. So that's and if they're going to cut somebody, Kareem Birch maybe?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, does it even exist? I don't even know if I've ever seen him before. I got to go on YouTube to see his highlights.
I know they already cut Stevenson or Stevens, Lamar Stevens.
It's got to be Birch or Stevenson, right?
It's Stevens. He was already cut.
Okay, so he's
the guy they acquired was it's Sidi Sissoko and Seti Osman. So the guy they acquired was Seti.
Well, I can see one of the veterans get waived.
Would it be Devontae Graham?
Yeah.
Would it be Reggie Bullock?
No.
I think Birch is a candidate.
Yeah.
I think Birch is a candidate to get cut.
I think Devontae's on that list.
Who?
Devontae,
maybe. I liked what I saw out of Graham last year.
Me too.
But I think if we're talking about straight up just cut, it is Serge Jabari Rice and Keem Birch.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking about Austin, it's Sissoko,
Barlow,
and
Sissoko, Barlow. Man, who am I forgetting?
You're not forgetting anybody. There's just a ton of people on this roster.
Yeah.
Because you got Victor, he's going to play. You got Keldon. You got Devontae. You got Sohan. You got
Malachi.
Cameron
Payne. Trey Jones.
Seti Osman. Blake Wesley. McDermott. Zach Collins.
Maybe that's it right there. Blake
Bullock. Don't forget about Reggie Bullock. Vassell. Charles Bassey. But they signed him to a contract the same way they did Champagnie. So, and then Trey Jones. So there's a lot of people that they re-signed and gave some decent money to, like Champagnie, like Bassey, that I just don't see them waiving. Now, maybe they're trying to possibly trade a Devontae Graham this offseason, trade a Reggie Barlow, trade a Campaign. Like, those may be tradable assets that they're looking to move that are veterans. But I really like Campaign on this team. I think he provides the one thing they don't have, a veteran point guard.
Oh, they got it now. And I know, and as far as the veteran presence is concerned, for me, I know Campaign is a great candidate to keep around, but for me, it's Reggie Bullock. I think he's not getting enough attention. I think that was a very low-key, smart, acquisition by the Spurs.
He's going to be a hustle 3-and-D guy.
Exactly. And I think sometimes the Spurs need that dog. Sure, you see a little bit out of Sohan, you see a lot of it out of Zach, but I like to see more of it. So I think these guys, maybe it'll change, next season.
Also, don't forget. Sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Don't forget, just recently, what was it? Ian Begley of SMY reported that the Spurs have been talking with the Knicks about a possible Evan Fournier trade, and they checked in on it. And if that were to happen, the most logical move is if you're bringing in his contract with those extra years, the Knicks would most likely want something that's expiring, like maybe a Doug McDermott. So you're swapping there, and maybe you can package another player onto that when you're bringing him in, and that helps to alleviate some of those cap roster concerns as well.
If they bring in Fournier, it's all like, this team is all about Wemby. Let's bring another French guy on board. It's all making him feel at home.
Just call this team lucky.
Exactly. That's what it's going to turn into if they do that. But no, definitely, the Spurs still got to make some moves. Obviously, a lot of people are probably, a few are going to be assigned to Austin. I can see Blake Wesley as well, getting shuttled back and forth,
back and forth probably, but I think he's on the squad though.
I think he's.
Although I could see him being shuttled back if CD gets called up.
Right. Oh yeah. We're not talking about how fun this Austin Spurs team might be looking next season. They might be looking very, very fun to watch.
Yeah.
There's some food for thought right there. Some Spurs news in a nutshell. Hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. What do you think about the Jalen Brown payday and the Spurs and how they got to prepare for that one day down the road and getting these players paid? And what do you think about the roster? New signings, but who, in your opinion, do you think is on the bubble? You can let James know on Twitter at @IamPledger. Let me know on Twitter at @JeffGSpursZone. Now's the time where Pledger talks about the star from extra innings to Saturday morning hangover. What's cooking?
We've all got it cooking, and the biggest thing going on at the Star right now is the fact that Monday we are live from Oxnard, California for Dallas Cowboys training camp right here with the best coverage the entire time we're there. It starts early. It'll be 4 a.m. when R&R take the airwaves in Oxnard because of the time difference.
That's gonna be fun for those guys.
That's gonna be real fun for Rob and Rudy. But yeah, Rob and Rudy kick us off 6 to 10. We're gonna have a new show during our week in Oxnard as RJ Ochoa is going to be hosting the Cowboys Corner from noon to 2. And then, of course, we got the Blitz from 2 to 6. And then extra innings with pleasure, 6 to 7 every day while we're out in Oxnard. And it's not just what we bring on the air, interviews and analysis and what we've seen out there. We're going to show you what we see out there. Go to sasportstar.com. Go to our TikTok page, our Instagram, our Twitter, at SA Sports Star on all accounts, all social media forums, our YouTube page. We're going to have so much coverage, so much insight, pictures, behind the scenes, players. It's going to be insane. We're dedicating a whole new level of commitment to our trip up in Oxnard this year. Just remember, it's all at 94.1 The Star.
Hey, did y'all guys have one of the Von Erichs recently?
Yes, Kevin Von Erich.
Yes, I thought I got to go back and check that out. I'm a big wrestling fan, especially the old school. So another reason why you got to listen to The Star.
He lives in Bernie now.
Yeah. That's what I heard. That he's in Bernie. I thought he was in Hawaii for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. He was in Hawaii for a while. He moved out there and just basically kind of lived on some property by himself and kind of wallowed in peace and serenity.
Yeah. Now he's in Bernie. That's a big shit.
Now he's in Bernie.
He's in Bernie, Texas. Yeah, another reason why you should check out The Star. And I'm not going to get into it with James right now about Secret Invasion because I thought it was – well, James is woohoo. James, it was just too small of a platform for that type of story arc.
I get it. And to be honest, I haven't seen this week's. Okay. I'm still waiting to see this week's until this weekend. But you
get
like
it.
I don't hate it.
It was too big of a storyline for the little screen. That could have been a movie. I think that should have been your Infinity War Endgame, part 1, part 2, Secret Invasion, part 1, part 2. I think that's how they should have handled
it. I don't disagree. It was a major arc in the comics. It was a huge crossover event.
Yeah. It just because I was expecting that. Okay, you know what? I gotta let James go. Okay, we're gonna have to start a Locked On Nerd show soon. I think that's Locked On Network soon about that. But for James, before James Pleasure, and I'll let him go in a bit. Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes. You guys are the everydayers. Just a quick housekeeping note: starting next week, Locked On Spurs is going to be taking a break-ish. Won't be every single day. James is actually on the last week where it's 5 days a week. So he's wrapping this up here before we just go to about 2 to 3 starting next week. It's the off season, everybody. There's really not much to talk about. I mean, barring something big, barring something big, definitely we'll get on it. But expect about 2 to 3 until close to training camp. But maybe I can convince some of our regular guests to come on. Make it 4. Who knows?
Here's the thing. Jeff needs time to himself too. He needs like a day. You gotta reset the battery sometimes.
I gotta set I gotta get into the hyperbolic chamber and put that mask on.
Everybody's got an off season. Even Locked On Spurs.
What did Goku get into when he was healing? It wasn't the hyperbolic chamber. Remember he was going to Namek? It was a hyperbolic chamber, right? Wasn't it?
It was a hyperbaric healing pod.
That's okay. I got
the hyperbolic time chamber is where they go into the room of time and spirit.
I would love to tap into that. Can you imagine what you're going to accomplish in 1 minute in that chamber? Just 1 minute. I mean, you would come out looking like an Adonis the way you work out. You'd be like, let's go. I got all the time now. But anyway, enough nerd talk. He is James Pleasure. I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked